So we discussed last week. We said that there's all these. There is the Yalkut Shemaini that says when Moshiach comes, even though the other Yom Tovim will become bottle, Purim will not become bottle. Purim is different. And so we have different version. What does that mean? So the next part of the discussion that comes up is what about Tainus Esther? When Moshiach comes, there's a pasuk and the Ram brings it down that all the fast days will be transformed. All the days of sorrow will be transformed to days of joy and simcha. And so Shailas, what about what's it going to be with Tainus Esther? Is Tainus Esther unique or different in any way? So the Rambam about the Tainus is in the first Maramakim in Hilchos Tainus Perakei Halacha Yudtes. The Rambam says, "Kol hatzeimus ha'elu asidim libatal limeis Mashiach." All the fast days we do now will become nullified when Mashiach comes. V'lo yoid. Not only that, el sheim hasidim liyas yamim tovim. There'll be festivals. The Yemei Sasin v'Simcha Shenemer, like it says in Zachariah in Perek Ches, Koy Amar Hashem Tzavos Tzim Haravi v'Tzim HaChamishi v'Tzim HaShvi v'Tzim HaSidi. Those 4 fasts. Yel Beis Yehuda l'Sasin l'Simcha. There will be times to rejoice. V'Lamoyadim Tevim and Yom Tevim v'Ha'emes v'Ha'Shalim Ahavai. And yeah. So the Rambam tells you that when Mashiach comes, all the fast days we do now, we're not going to be fasting. And Adrab, it's not going to be a day of Sar. It's going to be a day of Simcha, of joy. I'm going to say Yom Kippur. We discussed last week, is Yom Kippur going to become bottle? Since the opinion says Yom Kippur won't, we will still do Yom Kippur. But this is all talking about the fast days, which is Mishum the Tsar and the bad times that we had. So, what about Tainus Esther? So it's interesting. Before saying this is just in general, where does Tainus Esther come from? There's a machlikas. A lot of Shayim say that the whole Tainus Esther isn't even mentioned in the Gemara. It's not mentioned in the Gemara. So the question, where do they come from? So some people they found a small Gemara in a piece in Mesechtes Megillah. They want to say maybe this is what it's referring to. But some are saying that it's not going to mucker in the Gemara, and we just the minhag is to fast in Tainus Esther, just like they did in the times of Esther. In the second Ramak in the Maggid Mishnah discusses this. It says Tainus Zeh, and Maggid Mishnah in Hilchos Tainus Perakei Halacha Hey. Tainus Zeh Nizkar b'Gemara. It's not mentioned in the Gemara. We're made to do it. Some Mefarshim want to say, now where's the mucker for this? Shemash Shekasa b'Perek Hamid Megillah as man kehilo l'cholhi. In Mesechtes Megillah, the Gemara was discussing about all the days you're allowed to read the Megillah. It's not only in Yudal Tezvav, you can also read it Yud Gimel, Yud Beis, Yud Aleph. So the Gemara says, how do you know that Yom Yud Gimel is also a day which you could read the Megillah if you can't read it later? So it says because Yud Gimel is man kehilo lakol. It's a time of gathering. So why is Yom Yud Gimel the time of gathering? So Rashi explains because that was when the Yidden had the Milchama. That's when they fought the war in the times of Mordechai and Esther. They fought the war, and that's what it means man kehilo. But other Farshim say that no. Like he continues, Rotzin Limers Man Tainish, and he called Lu HaKol B'Shushan. Yud Gimel B'Adar. And no, what's the pshat that it says Man Kizman Kahol, it's time of gathering, meaning it's time of gathering for a Tainis, everyone gathered to fast. They Sanisi Mordechai V'Esra and Alzeh Samchuli Sanis, and this is the makar for fasting. So that's just in general where does it come from? So it's not so clear where's the there isn't a clear makar in the Gemara for fasting on Tainis Esther, but that's what we're knowing. Now, this question that we brought up, are we going to fast when Mashiach comes? And one of the people that bring up this discussion is J.V. Soloveitchik. There's a sefer called Harei Kedem, written by his shiurim given over by one of his talmidim. Over there, he brings up this discussion. What's going to be the Tainus Esther when Mashiach comes? And he's medayik from the Rambam. He says in the Rambam says in Hilchos Megillah in the end that all the Chamisha, that all the Nevi'im Ksuvim will become batal. Megillah Esther won't become batal. You see from the Rambam that when in his explanation, thank you, that the Tsar of Purim is also a part of Purim. basically what the question is going to boil down to, whether Tainus Esther will become null or not, is two questions. First of all, is Purim and Tainus Esther a package deal? Is it one thing? Do they go together? Or Shushim Purim, that's another question. Do they go together, and therefore you can't have one without the other? You can't have one without the other. And another question we have to bring up is Tainus Esther a Tainus of tsar, of sadness, because of time to do time of sadness because of the tsar that happened in the time of Esther, or is it Tainus which there's still more of a simcha to it? It's not such a big sadness to it. So let's see from the Rambam. The Rambam in the third Maramachim, he says, Kol Sifri Hanavim v'chol Aksuvim Asidin Lipatul, they'll become nullified when Mashiach comes, Limeis Mashiach, Chus Mi Megillas Esther. V'harihi kayemes kechamisha chumshei Torah, ukehilchei shel Torah shabapeh, she'enan betelin la'ilam, which will never become known. So that's what the Rambam says. Well, the important part is the next part we want to see. Even though all the remembrance of all the sorrows we had will be for batel and forgotten, which is why the Nevim and Ksuvim will be forgotten, because most of it talks about the sad times that we had. Nevertheless, they'll be forgotten and taken away from my eyes. Nevertheless, they will never be taken away and they'll never be forgotten. So you see, the Rambam is trying to ask a question: Why shouldn't Megillah be forgotten? Why shouldn't Purim be forgotten? There's a tsar. There's a bitterness to it. So there's no, even though there's a bitterness and a sadness to Purim, still it won't be forgotten because that's what the pasuk says from the pasuk.
Not because of the Tzoros part of it, because of the Simcha that came after the Tzoros.
But you see from the Rambam that Purim isn't just a Simcha. You see, there's also a Tsar involved. There is also a Tsar involved. So what is that Tsar? So Soloveitchik, you want to bring out that could be, you see from the Rambam that there's a Tsar, that's referring to Tainus Esther. It could be according to the Rambam that Tainus Esther, that is a chelik. When he says that it won't be forgotten, not only Purim, maybe also Tainus Esther will also be, we will also keep when Mashiach comes. This is...
As a fast, it will be just Tainus, it'll be called Tainus Esther and we will fast?
Maybe we don't know. This is theory, right? We don't know what's going to happen. This is pilpul. So another question. So another part of the discussion that comes up, another place where we see such a svara that Tainus Esther is a part of Purim, is we see from another discussion that Rishonim had. The halacha is on a day of Simcha, on a day where a nest happened to the Yidden, and we celebrate every year, you're not allowed to fast or do a hesped on that day, and also the day before and the day after, you're not allowed to fast either. So the question that Rishonim bring up is, why are we allowed to fast on Purim? All the days, and there was a Megillah called Megillas Tainus, which had all the Yom Tovim which the Yidden celebrated, and which you're not allowed to fast on the day. You're not allowed to fast either before or after. And one of them is Purim. So how are we allowed to fast Tainus Esther right before Purim? It's a Yom Tov, and you shouldn't be able to fast the day beforehand. So the different explanations that are given. One of them the Ran brings down from the Ravid. The Ravid says, even though Purim, even though you're not allowed to fast on the day before Yom Tov, and you're not allowed to, and seemingly shouldn't be allowed to fast on the day before Purim, still it's different. Since Purim, you see from the pasuk that Purim and Tainus Esther is a package deal, you don't makabel it together, therefore you're allowed to fast even erev Purim. This is in the fourth Maramakim. This is the Ran on the Rif in Mesechtes Tainus, Daf Zayin Amar Aleph. He writes, El Shehuz Al Kosav, the Ravid writes that the Yud Gimel Inei Deim L'Shar Tainus, that the Tainus Esther is not similar to other fast days that we do. The Zichrin Hu L'Nesh Shenasa, but because with this how we fast on Tainus Esther, it's not just for a sorrow, it's to remember the nest that happened. V'oid, and another reason, Sheyesh Lanu Smach B'Kosav. We also have a makkah for fasting on Tainus Esther in the pasuk. Sha'amar, it says Kasha Kimu Al Nafsham Divri Hatzim V'Kasha Kimu Al Nafsham Divri Hatzimis It said, the lashon of the pasuk when they were mekabel the divrei atzimis. Not only they were mekabel, just like pasuk, just like they were mekabel, and just like they were mekabel Purim, and they were also mekabel. They were mekabel the fast. This is in the end of Megillah on Perek Tes. Leimar, what's it trying to say? Shekashem shekibu aliyim lasis yom tov. Just like they were mekabel to make a yom tov of Purim, kach kibu aliyim divrei atzimis v'zakasam. So too they accepted it upon themselves the fast days. To fast Tainus Esther. Kalemer lastly's Tainus b'chol shana b'shana. To fast every year. So the Raiva says, so what's the reason you're allowed to fast out of Purim? The Chayda is right before Yom Tov. You're not allowed to fast then. So he says no, because you see from the pasuk that they were mekabel together. At the same time they were mekabel. They made Purim as the Yom Tov. On the same day they also they were also mekabel Tainus on a fast. Also to remember that Saras that happened. So also you see from the Ravid over here, the way he learns the pasuk, that it's a package deal. So it also fits with the Rambam. You see that the Tainus of Esther goes together with Purim, and maybe therefore it could be one be bottle, could be Tainus Esther we will also have when Moshiach comes. However, on the other hand, there's this is how the Ravid explains the pasuk. And when it says they were makabel divrei atzimis, they were makabel with fast, he says that it's referring to Tainus Esther. However, the Ibn Ezra on the Megillah, he explains differently. He says in the Perek Tes when the pasuk says that they were makabel Purim and they were makabel the fast, it's not referring to Tainus Esther. What it's really saying is that just like the Yidden. What's really saying is just like the Yidden were accepted upon themselves to fast on all the other fast days, from all the tzaras on Tisha B'Av and all the other days, even though just like they were makabel those days upon themselves, so too Purim the Yidden were makabel on themselves to celebrate. Just like they were makabel on themselves to fast on the days of sorrow, so too they were makabel on themselves to rejoice on Purim.
When it was decreed, didn't they decide it was going to be such and such a day? And not the people?
So it's for you're talking about Purim. So it's a discussion. First Mordechai wanted to, and then Esther they weren't. There was a discussion back and forth.
See what we're learning now is that they had certain things to do, right? So did Mordechai and Esther get together? Learn a sikha about that now.
Yeah, they got together and they accepted it upon themselves.
So
Together, everyone.
oh, was it just those two?
We'll see the Ibn Ezra, how he writes. The fifth Maramakim says, "Lefi daiti shechachmeinu zal kavu ataynis yom hapachad." That Chacham or Masakin that on the tainus, for on the day of fear to fast. V'tan divi hatzemis al niskarim, and when in the Megillah says they were mekabel divi hatzemis, it's referring to the same as Haniskarim b'Sefer Zechariah. It's not talking about Tainus Esther. It's talking about it says in Zechariah Shehin b'Tammuz, in Shavasar b'Tammuz, and of Tisha B'Av and Tishri. It's in Gedalia and Teves. Why? And the reason the explanation of the pasuk is Kikimu HaYehudim al Nafsham. They accept they are makabel upon themselves lismech b'mei HaPurim kasha kimu al Nafsham va'al zaram lisanis b'mei Evlam. Just like they were makabel on themselves and their children to fast during the times of Avelos for the Beis Hamikdash and all the destructions. Kasha hukbo ha'ir when the city was when they broke into the city Minisrav Habayis and they burnt the Beis Hamikdash. So just like the Yidden were makabel upon themselves to fast then, so too the Yidden were makabel on themselves to rejoice on Purim. Ki hanavi like tzivam sheisanu. The Navi didn't command them to fast. Kasha fanish bin kaimei, like will be explained. So, according to this, it's different than the Ravid. The Ravid says you learn how you see from the pasuk in the Megillah that the Yidden were makabel, the Tainus and the Purim as one Kabbalah. They were makabel together, and therefore you have a svara to say when Moshiach comes, it's going to be a package deal, just like you have Purim, you also have the Tainus. According to the Ibn Ezra, he learns differently. He says that pasuk is not referring to Tainus Esther. The pasuk in the Megillah that says they were makabel on themselves, the Divrei Hatzimis, the fast, it's not talking about Tainus Esther. It's talking about just like they were makabel to fast on all the other times of Avelos, so too they were makabel. They accepted the days of Purim. So over here, maybe. So yeah, everyone agrees we do fast, but.
No, then they they fast then?
Did they fast
So
then?
he said just like they accepted the other kindness. What about this one?
Could be they did, but that's not what the pasuk is referring to. So we're trying to figure out is
That in general they accepted fast.
mhm.
Accepted fast for that tzara, so we'll accept simcha for a good thing.
Yeah. So not fast, they'll accept Purim.
How come we don't get involved now if we won't accept
Fine.
that?
So these are.
They did it for us. They picked and choose, and that's it.
So this is. So this is one discussion he brings up. This is one discussion that he brings up regarding could be based on this is whether the svaras whether we're going to have tiny sets when Moshiach comes. Another and Gerlitsky in the Sefer Meisa Mashiach Ba'alacha he brings up another machlekes in the Rishonim which also on Talia in this is are we going to keep tiny Esther and what is this machlekes? So the halacha is that what happens if if a fast day falls out on Shabbos? You can't fast on Shabbos. So when do you fast? Do you push it off? Do you do it earlier or later? So the halacha is by all the fast days you push it off later, because you push off later you do it on Sunday because you don't want to. Fast days aren't very happy times, right? You don't want to do it earlier. You want to push it off. Other fast days fall out on Shabbos, so you push it off later because we're not so excited about them. We rather push them off. Akdumi parnusalim akdimin. Yeah, the Gemara says we don't want times of punishment. We don't want to bring closer. But what happens on Purim? If Purim falls out on Sunday and Tiny says it's on Shabbos, so we don't push it off later. We do it earlier. So what changed? I thought we don't want. What happened to not bringing bad times earlier?
Can't fast on Purim.
So let's see. So
after Purim.
So there are two reasons.
No, can't push it to Sunday. Sunday's Purim. Push it to Monday.
So why push it to
Purim.
Tuesday? What is it?
That's good. Yeah, we'd like to do. To make Purim first and then finish Esther.
So there are two reasons that are given. So the Rambam brings on this halacha. Let's see the Rambam first in the 6th Maramakim. The Rambam says, "V'nagu kol Yisrael bizmani meidul hisanis b'shleisha aser on the 13th of Adar zeich l'tainis shehisanu b'mei Haman." To remember the tainis happened in the days of Haman. Shneimar, like it says in Esther, Perek Tes, divrei hatzemis v'zakasam. So we're ready to fast. V'im chol shleisha aser ba'adar aliyas b'Shabbos. If it fell out on Shabbos, then makdimin u'misani b'chamishi. Then you do it earlier on Thursday, Shehu Yom Achadasar, which is 11th of Adar. But any of the other 4 fasts which falls out on Shabbos, you push it off later. So our question is why? So the Magi Mishnah, just the first 2 lines are relevant. He says like you said, because when else are you gonna fast? Shabbos falls out, Purim falls out on Sunday. Can't push it off till Sunday. The only thing you can do is bring it earlier. So in 7th Maramakim, he says, "V'im chol yud gimel ba'adar." Gamzeh pashat that you do it earlier. That's gamzeh pashat v'atam. Why do you do tiny Esther earlier instead of pushing it off? Sheyesh la'achrei ad yom echad. You can't push off tiny Esther until Sunday. Lefi shuv purim. So you can't push off any later. So you have to do it on Thursday. Yeah.
Other than Purim, is there another time that there's a day of Simcha after Atonis?
No.
So this is a non-question. Why would we do it? This is the only time where there's after a fast day there's a Simcha, the day of Simcha. So I don't think it should be a question altogether.
Right, but you see, but what we want to bring out from the Mag Mishnah here is that you see that really, if not for Purim, if Purim would be on Sunday, really we should be pushing off Tiny Esther, right? Because it's a Zman of Purim, a time of punishment of not good things we want to push off.
Right.
So if so, according to this, it seems like really Tiny Esther, it's not such a good day. And really we would want to push it off until Sunday. We would want to push off until Sunday because it's not the greatest time. So if it's a time of tsar, so again you have a reason why maybe we shouldn't keep it when Moshiach comes, because we want to forget about the tsaris. But on the other hand, there's another reason why we push it off why we do it earlier and we don't push it off later. Besides for the fact that there's no other option, but the Mordechai, one of the Rishonim, gives another reason that he says because it's not a time of punishment. It's not per onus. It's not per onusa. It's different than all the other fasts. and therefore we don't mind doing it earlier. This in the 8th Maramach, the Mordechai says in Masechtas Megillah in Tashan Ein Vav. He says, "Umashan Magdimin Hatainis Liyem Hei Kishachol Purim Echad B'Shabbos." When Purim falls out on Sunday, so Mefader Sham, he explains over there, She'in Yachal Lekovi Be'erev Shabbos. He says, because why don't you do it on Friday? You can't do it on Friday. Mipnei Turudin Litreach B'Kavit Shabbos. They're busy preparing for Shabbos. V'hachi Isa B'Shuvas Hagoyin. Yeah. Then he brings. Then this is our part. Even though later on we say when it comes to Tisha B'Av we push off later. We don't do it earlier because we don't want to bring down. We don't want time of punishment to come earlier. He says that's different. Tisha B'Av is a time of Puranus, of punishments. That's why we want to push it off. We don't bring it earlier. Whereas, and the Mefarshim over there, they add on, they explain more. On the bottom it says, "Aval tzeim Esther lav leipuranus." Tainis Esther is not a time of puranus. It's not a punishment. It's a part of the nest. To remember the nest that happens, we fast. So according to this Mordechai, that Tainis Esther, it's a part of the nest, and it's a part of the presuming nisra of remembering the great miracle that happened. So maybe lost the love. It should still be around. Maybe we shouldn't get rid of it.
So it's not a bad thing. Let's prove it anyway.
So the two svaras which come up. Yeah.
If we fast to remember, right? And after Moshiach comes, we're not going to fast, and we're going to keep Purim. Then what's the point of that? Then we've actually turned Purim into a 2-day holiday. Then the whole, right?
Okay. And so the two questions that come up: are we still going to fast? Is first of all, the last thing we just said is Tainis Esther. Is it a time of tsar like the other fast days, or is it part of the Ness of Purim and part of the Simcha of Purim? So
ask me during the fast. I'll tell you.
And the second question is, even if it's a time of tsar, but maybe it's a package deal, it's a part of Purim, and just like Purim won't be forgotten, so too Tainis Esther won't be forgotten. So there's a sicha in Tavshim and Vav. The Rebbe talks about on Tainis Esther, and the Rebbe says that the ma'ila of Tainis, the kedusha, the greatness of Tainis Esther, we're going to have also when Moshiach comes. So in the 9th Maramach, in the sicha, the Rebbe says, "V'yishloimar she'ma'ila sayim rotzin the Tainis Esther." The ma'ila of Tainis Esther is going to be gam Matzah Shel Gula, 9th Maramach. 9. Yishlei Mashmalei Sayim Rotzin the Tainis Esther is going to be Gam B'Matzah Shel Gula. That which will be in the time of Gula. He Leirak Bizman by Sheni. So this that we have the Ma'at Tainis Esther wasn't the only. It's not only in times of like the by Sheni. Shenishlam Ma'achri Nes Purim, which was after the times of Purim of Meidul Chagu Gubayis Simiha Purim. So obviously, even in times of Sheni, they celebrated Purim. Lifnei Zeh Tainis Esther, they also did. Also when Moshiach comes, we're also going to have the ma'ila of Tainis Esther. Like Al Pi Psak Din Harambam in Hilchos Megillah, that he says that we won't forget about Purim. It won't be removed from the Yidden, and we won't forget it. So move on. Shekein Hu Gam B'Negel Tainis Esther. This that the Rambam says regarding Purim, so it applies also to that won't be forgotten. It applies also to Tainis Esther. It accomplishes something so high and great and powerful, and of his skalas trust in Elyon Baruch Hu, B'darga kazu, on such a high level, she'ein ba chilik bein galus ugula. The Gilui, the East Ratzin of Tainis Esther is so high that even that even in the time of Gula, we're still going to deher the Gilui in the East Ratzin we're going to have. So discussion. So the Rebbe doesn't say if we're going to fast if we're going to fast. No, but the Rebbe says the Maila Kedusha, the East Ratzin of Purim is going to be. The Kedusha, the East Ratzin of Tainis Esther is still going to be lost. What about are we going to fast? I don't know.